What if I told you that the greatest enemy of modern life isn't poverty, or lack of opportunity, or even talent? It's softness? Think about it. People today are not falling into quiet defeat because they're stupid or lazy. They fall because their minds have grown fragile. We have more comfort than any generation before us, more convenience, more entertainment, and yet, so many walk around restless, anxious, and lost. Why? Because we have built palaces of comfort while our mental strength has withered away inside. We chase ease. We drown ourselves in endless scrolling, in constant distraction, in the numbing glow of screens. And afterward, we wonder why we feel stuck, why every obstacle feels unbearable, why the smallest hardship crushes us. Here's the hard truth. Life isn't getting harder. We are getting softer. The storms aren't fiercer. The sailors have just forgotten how to hold the wheel. But there is a way out. Over 2,000 years ago, the Stoics faced war, betrayal, exile, poverty, and death, and instead of breaking, they built unshakable minds. They didn't just survive hardship, they turned hardship into the very forge of their strength. The Stoics left us not a blueprint for a peaceful life, but a roadmap for an unshakable life. And if you follow it, everything, your thoughts, your actions, the way you face life, will change forever. In this video, I'll walk you through 8 brutal Stoic laws. These aren't gentle affirmations. They're tough, raw, sometimes uncomfortable, but if you let them sink in, they will rewire how you think, how you feel, and how you rise when life knocks you down. Stick with me, because each law has the power to reshape your world. Let's begin with the first. Law 1. Face pain like a ruthless but loyal trainer. The obstacle is the way. Marcus Aurelius. Comfort is a silent killer. It doesn't shout. It doesn't strike you down in an instant. It seduces. It whispers. Rest a little longer. Scroll a little more. Numb yourself just one more time. And while you obey, your fire dims, your edge dulls, and your strength slips away like sand through open hands. Avoidance feels harmless, but make no mistake, it's poison. Every time you sidestep discomfort, you feed the habit of weakness. You hand over power not just to fear, but to passivity, and passivity is a slow death. The Stoics knew this. To them, pain wasn't an enemy, it wasn't punishment. Pain was a trainer, relentless, brutal, uncompromising, but loyal to your growth. Imagine the kind of trainer who never lies to you, who never lets you slack off, who forces you to push beyond your limits because they see who you could become. That's pain. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his meditations sipping wine by the sea. He wrote them surrounded by betrayal, by disease, by the crushing responsibility of ruling an empire constantly at war. His calm wasn't born in leisure, it was forged in fire. Here's the truth. Lifting weights is meaningless if you fear sore muscles. Life works the same way. If you avoid small discomforts, you'll collapse when the real storms hit. Resilience is not built in ease. It's built in pain deliberately faced. So how do you train with pain? You start small. You take the cold shower when your body screams for warmth. You speak the difficult truth instead of hiding in silence. You sit still when boredom claws at your skin. These aren't punishments. They're push-ups for your will. Pain, more than anything else, reveals who you are when everything else is stripped away. When you willingly step into discomfort, something shifts inside. Fear loses its grip. Weakness loses its voice. You stop running from storms. You become the storm. Daily affirmation. Discomfort is my training ground. Not a threat, not a punishment, but a sacred arena where ordinary minds break and unshakable spirits are born. Law 2. Stop being a slave to emotion. Any person capable of angering you becomes your master. Epictetus. Think about how often this happens. One careless insult ruins your entire day. One thoughtless comment hijacks your peace. One rude driver or bad headline sets your chest on fire. And in that moment, who holds the power? You or them? If a single word can shatter your balance, that isn't strength, that's surrender. But here's the secret the Stoics uncovered. Emotions aren't the enemy. They're signals, they're data. The real danger isn't feeling emotions, it's obeying them blindly. It's letting anger dictate your words, letting sadness chain your actions, letting fear pull the strings of your life. When you do that, you stop being the captain. You become the puppet. The Stoics didn't suppress their emotions. They studied them. They understood that beneath every emotional storm lies a mistaken belief. Marcus Aurelius put it simply: if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Translation: it's not the event that hurts you. It's the story you tell yourself about the event. A strong person still feels. They feel anger rise, but they breathe. They feel sadness knock, but they don't let it move in. They let the emotion pass through without giving it the keys to the ship. That's the difference between drowning in a storm and steering through one. So how do you reclaim this control? Start with the pause. When you feel triggered, don't react in the first second. Take a breath. That one breath can change everything. Ask yourself, is this emotion useful right now? Most times, the answer will be no. Control doesn't mean coldness. It means command. It's not about being numb. It's about being steady. Emotional mastery is quiet confidence, the kind that refuses to be pushed around by every insult, every bad mood, every unexpected storm life throws your way. Daily reminder: emotional control is not the absence of feeling, it's the presence of strength. I feel, but I do not bow. I acknowledge, but I do not obey. And here's the truth: once you begin to treat pain as your trainer, and emotions as signals instead of masters, your inner strength starts to grow. You realize that life doesn't have to be about avoiding storms or begging for calm seas. It's about becoming the kind of sailor who can navigate anything. But that's just the beginning. Because the Stoics knew that resilience wasn't only about pain and emotion. It was also about reclaiming your freedom from the invisible chains of desire, approval, and attachment. And that leads us directly into the third law, one that may challenge you even more deeply than the first two. Law 3. Let go of fairness. Life owes you nothing. You can commit injustice by doing nothing. Marcus Aurelius. You can live with integrity. Give your best. Follow every rule, and still be betrayed. You can work harder than anyone else. Sacrifice sleep. Pour in your heart, and then watch as someone less capable, less deserving, or simply more favored walks away with the reward. You can give love, your time, your trust, your devotion, and all you hear in return is silence. And when that happens, a voice inside you screams, "It's not fair." But here's the brutal Stoic truth: life is not fair, and it never made such a promise. Fairness is not a law written into the fabric of the universe. It is a human idea, a fragile illusion. Nature doesn't care about your intentions, your sacrifices, or how badly you think you deserve something. Lions don't apologize to antelopes for the chase. Storms don't politely skip over the homes of kind families. The earthquake doesn't pause to ask if its victims were good people. Expecting fairness is like demanding the ocean stay calm every time you sail. It's asking for reality to bend itself to your comfort. And when you demand it, you make yourself fragile, because you're waiting for life to treat you kindly instead of preparing yourself for the fact that it won't. Marcus Aurelius saw injustice every single day. As emperor of Rome, he faced corruption, betrayal, and cruelty, sometimes from the very men who swore loyalty to him. But instead of drowning in complaints, he grounded himself in this belief: strength, not fairness, determines who endures. You can choose to complain, or you can choose to build yourself into someone so unbreakable that even the sharpest, most unfair blow cannot bend you. That is the Stoic challenge. So how do you live with dignity in a world that is unfair? Stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What now?" Use betrayal as the forge for inner resolve. Use setbacks as weights to strengthen your spirit. Do what is right, especially when life is not, because that is when character is tested, when values either collapse or stand firm. Here's the mindset shift. The average person waits for fairness like a child waiting for candy. But the Stoic trains for chaos, accepts injustice as part of life, and walks through the storm calm, focused, and steady. Daily affirmation: I do not expect fairness. I train for reality. And when I stop needing life to be fair, I finally start becoming free. Law 4. Focus on what you can control. Let go of the rest. Make the best use of what is in your power. And take the rest as it happens. Epictetus: look around today's world, and you'll see people drowning in worry. They obsess over news headlines. They argue endlessly about politics, about strangers' opinions, about events far outside their influence. They replay the past. They panic over the future. Why? Because they spend their energy on things they cannot control. But here's the Stoic mastery. Freedom begins the very moment you draw the line between what is yours and what is not. Think of sailing in a storm. You cannot calm the sea. The waves will rise, the winds will scream, the rain will pour, but you can grip the wheel. You can set the sails. You can steer, while others panic. The Stoic navigates. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. The power of your mind, that is your true kingdom. Modern life constantly tempts you to fight battles that aren't yours, to argue online with faceless strangers, to predict the rise and fall of economies, to try to change people who do not want to change. And what is the result? Misery, exhaustion, the slow erosion of peace. So what is the solution? Radical clarity. Ask yourself one question: is this within my control? If the answer is yes, act. If the answer is no, release. Letting go does not mean giving up. It does not mean apathy. It means reclaiming your energy. It means taking back your power from things that were never yours to hold. Because here's the truth: when you stop trying to control everything, you gain mastery over the one thing that truly matters: yourself. And in mastering yourself, you find freedom. Daily affirmation: I focus only on what I can control. The rest is not mine to carry. And in that simplicity, I discover peace. Law 5. Choose hardship before life chooses it for you. Is this the condition I feared? Seneca. Most people train for comfort. They build their lives around ease. They seek fast food, fast pleasure, fast results. They dream of smooth paths and soft landings. But the Stoic trains for chaos. In a world addicted to ease, discipline becomes a superpower. And the Stoics knew this long ago. If you do not choose hardship willingly, life will impose it on you unwillingly. To walk the Stoic path is to build resilience before the storm arrives. To sharpen the blade before the battle begins. It is to ask yourself, every time fear whispers, is this the condition I feared? And when you face it, when you taste it, you realize it was never as unbearable as your mind imagined. The Stoic does not seek suffering for its own sake. They seek strength, and strength only comes from challenge, from friction, from resistance. So, choose hardship. Wake early when you want to sleep. Save when you want to spend. Speak the truth when it costs you. Endure small struggles so that when the great ones come, you will not crumble, because comfort is fragile. But discipline endures. And with that, we arrive at the heart of Stoic training, the willingness to release illusions. Focus on what is truly yours, and harden yourself through chosen trials. These are not abstract ideas, they are daily practices. And if you embrace them, you will begin to notice a shift, a quiet strength rising within, a clarity cutting through the noise. But the Stoic journey doesn't end here. There are still deeper laws, brutal in their honesty, liberating in their wisdom, that will challenge the way you see life itself. And those, we will uncover in the next part. We just explored how the Stoics viewed discipline not as a burden, but as the very foundation of freedom. Now, let's continue and see how this mindset shapes the way they approached life's toughest lessons. Fast food, fast pleasure, fast results. We live in a world where everything is designed to be instant, where patience feels outdated and discomfort is avoided at all costs. But here's the paradox: in chasing ease, we lose strength. Discipline, in contrast, becomes a superpower. And the Stoics understood this long before the modern world existed. If you only grow when life forces you to, when circumstances push you into a corner, you will always remain a step behind. This is why Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, chose to practice voluntary hardship. He slept on the floor, wore rough and simple clothing, and ate the most basic, tasteless meals, not because he was poor, and not because he had no other options, but because he wanted to test himself. He would ask, if I lost it all tomorrow, would I survive? Think about that for a moment. Most of us build our lives around comfort, yet Seneca built strength by stripping comfort away. The easiest path always builds the weakest spine. Muscles don't grow without resistance, and neither does the mind. The Stoics believed that true growth doesn't come from escaping struggle but from entering it, willingly, deliberately, and with purpose. Voluntary discomfort is training for the soul. It's how you prepare yourself before life inevitably strikes. You fast not to punish your body, but to free it from the chains of constant craving. You rise early not because it's pleasant, but because it teaches you control. You turn away from luxury not because you lack it, but because strength is born in restraint. Every time you embrace discomfort by choice, you send a quiet, unshakable message to yourself: I am not fragile. I can endure more than I think. And when hardship does arrive, and it always does, you won't crumble. You won't flinch. You'll be ready, because you've already walked through fire on your own terms. Try this for yourself. Skip a meal, not out of punishment, but out of curiosity. Feel the hunger rise and notice that you survive it without panic. Step into a cold shower, and instead of resisting, breathe through it calmly. Say no to something tempting, not because you can't have it, but because you're proving to yourself that you're stronger than your desires. Discipline isn't deprivation, it's preparation. Every small act of self-denial is a daily affirmation. I don't wait for hardship. I train for it. That's how you stop fearing pain and start becoming forged by it. And this leads us to another vital Stoic principle: detach from outcomes. Fall in love with the process itself. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present." In other words, the best way to face tomorrow is to master today. Picture this. You begin a project, pouring your heart and effort into it. You give your best, but the world remains silent. No applause, no recognition, and in that silence, you feel crushed, as though all of it was for nothing. Why does this happen? Because you've tied your worth to results, not to effort. But the Stoic shift is radical and liberating. Let go of the outcome. Master the process. The truth is, you cannot control how the world responds to your work. You cannot force others to notice or to care. What you can control, however, is how you show up every single day. The Stoic doesn't write for applause. He writes to sharpen his mind. She doesn't train to be admired. She trains to build discipline. They don't love in order to be validated. They love because love is who they are. Results are unstable, unreliable, delayed, distorted. Sometimes they never even arrive. But the process? The process belongs entirely to you. Every repetition, every word, every step, every breath. This is where your power lies. When you detach from outcomes, you paradoxically become stronger. Why? Because desperation disappears. You're no longer addicted to applause. You're no longer shattered by failure. Instead, you stand firm, grounded in effort, focused on virtue, anchored in the present moment. Practice this. Show up today as if the outcome has already been decided. Throw yourself into the repetitions, the practice, the sweat. Love the act itself. Let the world reward you when, or if, it chooses. But remember, you've already won simply by doing the work. This is the Stoic mindset. I work with intensity, not expectation. This is the daily affirmation. My value lies in my discipline, not in the results. Because when you learn to love the process, you become unstoppable. And with that, we arrive at the next truth. Embrace death. Live with urgency. Live with purpose. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Yet how often do we live as though time is endless? We act like we're immortal. We delay our dreams. We cling to habits that harm us. We waste our days scrolling, waiting, hesitating, as if 1,000 tomorrows are guaranteed. But here's the brutal truth. You are dying right now. Each hour spent in distraction, each word left unsaid, each dream you postpone, those are fragments of life you will never get back. That is why the Stoics practiced memento mori. Remember, you must die. Not as a grim shadow, not as a source of fear, but as a wake-up call. Because when you remember death, life becomes urgent. You stop waiting for a perfect tomorrow. You stop accepting mediocrity just to stay safe. You no longer fear embarrassment, judgment, or even failure, because you realize that the greatest failure of all is to waste the precious time you've been given. Seneca once said, It is not that life is short, but that we waste much of it. And that is a wake-up call. Don't just exist, live intentionally. Call the person you've been thinking of. Start the work you've been postponing for too long. Write the book that has been living inside your mind. Say, "I'm sorry," when you need to. Say, "I love you," while there's still time. Let go. Begin. Act. Every morning, ask yourself, if today were my last day, what would I do differently? That single question works like a mirror, reflecting what truly matters and stripping away everything that does not. You can even write down your regrets before they ever happen, so they never take root. Walk through your day as if every single hour matters. Because it does. You don't need more time. What you need is more clarity. That is the power of remembering death. And here is your daily affirmation. I live as if my time is borrowed, because it is. And when death no longer scares me, that is when I finally begin to live fully. The next step on the Stoic path. Become a warrior of virtue, not of approval. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Just that you do the right thing. The rest doesn't matter." These words are a compass for living a life of strength and integrity. Because most people live for the crowd. They crave the likes, the applause, the compliments. You're amazing. But ask yourself, when the noise fades away, who are you then? The Stoic does not act for praise. The Stoic acts for principle. You keep your word, not because someone is watching, but because that is who you are. You speak the truth, not because it is easy, but because it is right. You train hard, not for recognition, but because excellence is your duty. Here lies the trap. When you live for approval, you become a mirror, constantly shifting, bending, reflecting what others want to see. But when you live for virtue, you become a mountain, still, firm, unmoved. Seneca once reminded us, "I will govern my life and thoughts as if the whole world were watching the one and reading the other." That is real power, not status, not followers, not fame, but integrity. So how do you live with virtue? Choose what is right, even when no one sees. Refuse to bend your values for popularity. Do the work in silence. Let your character speak louder than your voice. The Stoic understands. Approval is fleeting. But virtue endures forever. And here is your daily affirmation. I live for truth, not for applause. When you no longer need the crowd, something incredible happens. You begin to lead yourself. You begin to respect yourself. And, ironically, that is when others start to follow you. Because in a world filled with noise, authenticity echoes the loudest. Conclusion. No one is born unshakable. But every small decision, every single moment you choose discipline over comfort, is like laying a brick on the path toward inner strength. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin, right now. One day at a time. One choice at a time. Until one day, you look back and realize, nothing can move you anymore. If this message has awakened something within you, don't let it fade. Like the video, leave a comment with the words, "I choose strength," and subscribe, because this journey has only just begun. Welcome to the Stoic Glow, where we don't just motivate the mind. We train it.